Hello, welcome. My name is Colleen Raney, and you are currently in the beautiful Skagit Valley of Washington State, specifically the town of Mount Vernon, but there are some really amazing places all around here. We are standing in a field of future sweet pea seeds. So they look like sweet peas now, but that's not really what we're looking at. We're looking at seed pods waiting to happen, and this particular variety here is one that I've gotten from an English grower. The variety is called Liz Ann Davies, and it is possibly the most prolific sweet pea I've maybe ever grown, and the stem lengths are incredible, and the seed production is very strong. So
and it's so aromatic.
It's really, it's very fragrant,
very perfumed.
The best time is right about dusk on the farm, because there's something about the sweet peas that really they all become very, very fragrant right about that time, and then all of the hummingbirds start their territorial kind of machinations trying to get me out of their house for the night, which is just fine. This one here is another British variety, Lisbeth. Has been just strong, bright coral, which is a really popular color right now, is coral. So pretty happy about this one. Clearly heavy enough to weigh down this, but you know, it's fine as long as it just makes it to the end of the season. I should be putting taller posts up, but maybe next year. There's always next year.
But
right?
you're using a compostable netting. Tell us about that.
With this farm, I am trying to use as little single-use plastic as possible. That is a real strong commitment of mine from when the farm was in Maine, and we can talk about that later, to when we moved home to the Northwest. Every opportunity I can to reduce single-use plastic. So Conscious Gardeners was great to work with me this year and provide the sweet pea. There's about 2 acres of sweet peas here, and all of them are on jute. So when this comes down, I probably won't use it again, because as a natural fiber, it does break down a little bit in UV and in rain, which we hadn't had a ton of, but it still does break down. What I will use it for is I will put it down in pathways then, because it will become a weed suppressor, and then it will eventually just get kind of reclaimed by the soil.
Brilliant. So what are you calling your sweet pea seed business?
Yeah, so the sweet pea seed company is called Songbird Seed Company, and the reason it is called Songbird Seed Company is twofold. My primary wedding floral business is called Diadem Flower Co, and I didn't know until I started in a couple of years that that's a hard word for Americans. They're not as familiar with the word diadem, and so it gets mispronounced a lot, and I think people are hesitant to say it. So I wanted to make something a little more accessible. The second reason is that for the last 30 years of my life, I have been a professional Irish singer and have been called Songbird, you know, in various forms.
Oh, that's beautiful.
So that's what it just seemed sort of straightforward, and I wanted to make sure that it said Songbird Seed Company, so there was no confusion that we are primarily a seed company, and 90% of the seed is sweet peas. This year, 100% of the seed, but in future we'll be branching into a couple more things.
And how lovely that you reference the bird activity at the end of the day. They come here.
There is a lot out here, and we have beautiful charms of goldfinches all over, and which I think, isn't that the Washington state bird? Might be. It might be.
I'm embarrassed to say I don't know.
Honestly, I know the rhododendron is the flower.
Yeah, right.
But I think it's the goldfinch. So we have those, and we have just, you know, all sorts of beautiful birds, including the hummingbirds.
So when you're growing sweet pea specifically for seed, do you treat it differently than when you're just growing as a cut flower? Or
no, you really don't. Okay. Thankfully, you don't. You start them the same way. Sweet peas love to be started cold. They are kind of originally from the same latitude as like the Mediterranean. So there's discussion, disagreement about whether or not they started in the Mediterranean or in Southeast Asia or in the southern central part of the American continents, like the South America, Central America. But all of it is along this sort of same band of latitude. And in that latitude, they are a winter flower. So it's a little bit more equatorial. The sweet peas love to be started when it's chilly and then sit dormant for a while after they've started to kind of grow on, just in their kind of leaf state, and set really deep roots. Then they are triggered to grow and to flower by daylight, which is very specific to this. And so there are certain varieties that will be triggered to grow when we reach 10 hours of daylight, and they'll grow until they'll keep flowering until the end of that 10 hours. And then most of them, though, most of the ones I'm growing here are 12 hours. So as you think about where they came from, it makes more sense because they spend a lot of time at that 12 hours. Then it gets so hot down there that they go dormant. They set their seed, they drop the seed, they wait out, they're very patient. They'll wait out the summer until it just gets cool enough and the rain starts, and then they'll sprout and they'll start the whole cycle again. So these can perennialize. The original sweet peas will perennialize. They are just a perennial, These ones, though, we start them here. I'll start 2 batches. I'll start one in November. This year I think I'm going to go a little early and test some overwintering in the high tunnels. I haven't had the bandwidth to do it yet, but this year we'll do it. Normally I start a batch in November, and then I start another batch in January, and then we get them in the ground as soon as it's workable. And out here we have a lot of standing water in just this part of the valley, so I have to wait till the field dries out to plant them. But once they go in, it's no different than if I'm growing for flower. The only difference is that I don't harvest the flowers.
That's amazing.
Yeah, I just take enough to take product photos, and that's it.
Okay. Wow. So is that about March that you're planting out into the fields?
Yeah.
Okay.
I plant about March, depending on the sog.
Yeah, the sog.
Right.
You know that technical term.
It's the sog, right? Everybody out here knows the sog. So this area I was able to plant in March. It was a little wetter at the back part of the field, so I have to wait, and then a little even wetter over there. So we're working on water mitigation.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, should we walk a little bit further? I have so
Sure.
many questions. I'm really
Sure.
curious about your selection of what you decided you wanted to produce for seed.
Right.
Do you start with what you've grown as a farmer-florist and know that you love, or?
That's a good question.
Yeah.
I started with the sure things last year, and I planted just these 7 rows last year.
Okay.
And I planted the ones that I basically thought were the most beautiful. That's it. That was the only criteria.
But it's interesting, beautiful from a farmer-florist cut flower point of view, or
don't think
just
so.
just
I
a
think-
gardener's gonna love these too.
I think gardener. I have never been a gardener. We can talk about that later. I never had a garden in my life. I always lived in cities and worked in theater, and so I just fell hard for sweet peas when I started growing them. When I started growing them in Maine, I could only get very, very tiny short stems because it's a very different climate. So I never really used them in design. I just grew them for me.
Just to have. Yeah.
And I thought, well, maybe everybody else wants to grow them too. So I started with maybe 20 varieties that I thought were beautiful last year. And then I listened. I asked a lot of questions of people who were looking for varieties. And varieties from England and the UK are hard to come by in the States right now because of all of the sort of shipping regulations
Sure.
and restrictions. And so I have access to some suppliers that can get me harder to find British varieties.
So you're really focusing on those desirable
Yes.
British varieties that aren't commonly available as
Yeah,
seed
they're hard to
in the
find.
U.S.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I think that a lot of us are. We have a really collaborative group of people that I work with that also grow sweet peas, which is nice, that there isn't that kind of like rotten competition.
Oh,
We just
good.
support each other. And so we're talking to each other regularly. Who has what, and how do we get all of the varieties that are so popular from Roger Parsons and from English sweet peas and from Curtin and all of the other Keith Hammett down in New Zealand. How do we get those here and grow them on in the quantities so that we can provide product for an American gardening?
So are you saying that some of the seeds that you need or that others need, you're actually doing kind of sweet pea seed company to another sweet pea seed company? You're like
We help
helping each other. Okay.
Yeah, we
That's
help
lovely.
Each other. Yeah, I've gotten a few varieties from Tuesday at Luna Seed Farm has given me a variety that's out in the other part of the field, and then Brian at Half Moon's Farm has given me some of the Japanese sweet peas that we're growing this year. She was able to provide those for me, and then
And others are
we
coming
do
to
the same.
you for like,
That's
what do you
right.
have
So I
extra?
could give them some extra Juliets or some extra whatever they wanted to. Yeah, we got together.
So last year was your first year that you were harvesting, or?
Last year was the first year I was like in earnest.
Okay.
When I called it. This is my 8th year of growing flowers, and so the year that we moved back to the Northwest, I had to focus mostly on just getting a house livable. So I grew I couldn't not.
Right.
I grew 2 rows of sweet peas of just white, just for me, in case I wanted to use them for weddings that I was designing. And then I got serious about it and put this in as a test patch to see if people were interested in it. And it turns out people are quite interested in it. So I was very excited to expand to next year also there will be more, but we're expanding to the full 2 acres here, and then I have access to acreage next to me.
Oh my goodness.
If we get bigger.
Yeah.
I'm going to need help if that happens.
Yeah.
Because right now it is literally just me.
So you said 7 rows. Does that mean
That's just here.
7
So we
varieties
have
or
50 rows
Okay,
altogether.
okay.
And I have 70 varieties in those rows.
Oh
right
my
now.
goodness.
Next year there will be another 30 rows added, and so we're going to what I ideally would like to have is 1 variety per row, which just makes it easy. Right now I mostly have 1 variety per row, except for this intersection where it's 2 per row.
Should we go check over
Sure,
there?
yeah.
You were saying that it's been very dry this summer,
It has.
and sweet peas I know that they prefer their feet to be cold.
That's right.
And their heads to be sunny.
That's right.
So you're trying to create
Yeah.
those conditions,
Yes.
right?
Yeah, and that's been a challenge. I am lucky. We have a water right here, so I have my own well and my own irrigation. So everything is irrigated at the roots, and I am able to run cold water, because it's coming straight from the well, to these in sections, and I do that twice a week when it's hot. Each section gets
Sure.
a good few hours
Wow.
of water.
Just deep watering.
Deep watering, and then they're fine for a few more days. But it is, when we hit those 90-degree days, the other day it was like 86 at 8 o'clock, and I am too northwestern for that. We needed to chill out. But you can see that they get a little stressed. They get a little crispy. We get a few days of rain coming this week, and I'm very excited about
It is
that.
supposed to rain this weekend,
Yeah,
right?
I'm really excited about that.
The other thing is, since you're growing seed,
Yes.
you're not freaking out if there's some yellowing of the foliage,
No.
or which I would do in my own garden, right?
Right.
So it's an
Yeah.
interesting set of priorities.
Yeah.
It's really just keeping them watered. And do they need any kind of fertilizer?
They can. I use a kelp fertilizer on them just from Nature's Harvest, and I give them foliar spray when they're early and a root soak. At this point in the season, I won't though, because they don't need a lot of nitrogen at this point. They need phosphorus and potassium to be doing their flowering. They get plenty of that from the soil out here, so I
Okay.
don't have to worry about that. But there are certain parts of it that are quite ugly, so it's not the pretty flower farming that you would necessarily expect, because they are starting to go, like that section is going to seed over here, and so it looks brown and yellow, and it's not what you'd necessarily want, and that is what I love to see. Like, this whole field will go brown.
Let's see how you're going to, like, at what stage will you look at a pod and...
Don't mind the weeds. I will never get ahead of the weeds.
Oh, no.
No, I don't think anybody
No
ever
judgment.
gets ahead
We
of
all
the weeds.
understand that. We've all been there.
So here's a good example. I'll get out of the sun. So you can see a few, just like a variance of, this is when the seed starts to set. You'll get a nice flat pod. It just looks like snap peas that we eat, right?
Sure.
Don't eat them. They're very toxic.
Okay.
Sweet peas are. And then they'll start to plump up. You'll see them, and you'll be able to start to see how many seeds are in a pod. And some varieties are great seed setters, and others are not great. And then they'll start to yellow and get a little fatter, and they'll get a little browner, and you still want to leave these alone. They're just doing their good work on the plant. Here's one that went too far. So this guy I'll harvest later. If you scratch it like that, that's done. And inside that, you can hear it shaking. Inside that are sweet peas. If I let it go too long, which I did on this one, they'll burst and they'll curl up, and that's how they fling their seed. They curl, and the seed goes that way. That's how they distribute their
natural propagation.
Yeah.
Right.
And so I'll come through and I'll harvest sometimes twice a day, because they'll go that fast. So.
Colleen, how challenging for you to keep up with this, because there are literally tens of thousands of pods, right?
There are. You're right.
Oh my goodness.
It's been a lot this year. I took not a bigger bite than I should have, but certainly a big bite. And I have never been a person who wades in. I'm a jumper, and I'll figure out how to swim. So when I was like, well, look, if we're gonna go for it, we're gonna go for it, and I'll just keep up. And just a couple weeks ago, I started getting one little helper, and my amazing helper Kemper comes out on Fridays for a few hours, and he gives me a hand with some of the stuff that I can't keep up with. And he said he's very excited that maybe he could do more. So that's hopeful. I might be able to have help.
But other than this row where you showed the kind of stages, will you start harvesting this particular sweet pea, or?
Oh yeah, I harvest all of them every day.
Okay. Oh, you do.
So I have bags that each are marked with their variety, and I just throw them over my shoulder, and I walk down each row and I pull everything, and then I'll do it again before dusk.
So just to clarify, what is this variety, by the way?
This one's Kira Madeleine.
Oh, she's such a stunner.
Isn't she?
Oh my goodness. So Kira produces your pods.
Yes.
You're harvesting the pod at this stage.
Yeah, actually I'm going to get one, because this I can just pop in my pocket when we're done. It's not going to hurt it. We'll just do this one. This is a small pod. It doesn't have an average number of seeds in it. Let's see if we're done here. Yeah, so this one only has a few, but that's basically what it looks like.
Wow.
And each of these, so those 3 seeds will go in my pocket, and I'll put them into probably a garden mix, because I'll forget what they are by later. No. It's fine, there's plenty.
Thank God for the mixes.
Right? There'll be this, this one will have, you can see in it, this one is going to have like 10 seeds in it. So,
but that's the challenge then, is just to keep the varieties segregated. So when you're throwing things into the bag over your shoulder, you're putting the pods in.
Yes.
You have a more secure place for actually popping open those.
Yeah. And they're all in a mesh bag that's closed. So even if I put all the pods in there and I just scrunch, all the seeds fall, and I can pull out the pod. It's just hand winnowing all of this stuff, which I actually prefer. I think there are machines, threshers and winnowing machines, that will do this. And maybe at some point I'll get to that point, but right now, being able to touch every single pod, every single seed that goes into these, or like the packets or into the mixes, it's my way of making sure that we have decent quality control at this point too, because that's a risk. I want to make sure that I'm sending exactly the right product to somebody who orders it. I take it very seriously, probably too seriously, but I take it very seriously that someone is spending their money on something that I am sending them, and that feels like a responsibility. So right now I'm at the point where I touch every single thing that goes out the house with my own hands.
That is amazing quality control.
Well, yeah, I hope I can maintain. I'm not the first one to do this. I'm surrounded by so much experience here in the valley.
Well, I love that, because you live in an old house, an old farmhouse. You think of people over the centuries who have collected seed, and you're kind of doing it the same way.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, and I think there's something so nostalgic about sweet peas for so many people. What I hear from people is, those were my grandmother's favorite seeds. These are the seeds my grandmother grew. I love sweet peas, my grandmother. So there's this real strong sense of kind of history and legacy and nostalgia, sweet nostalgia, when it comes to this flower. And I think that's lovely. And we need a little something bright.
Yeah,
and so
we do.
If that sweet, soft nostalgia is these seeds, then I am delighted to be doing this in the way that was done as long as it's been done.
Well, I have a few more questions. Maybe I'll just follow you. I talk to a lot of people who are breeding and have breeding programs. You're not necessarily breeding, but you're selecting. So what features are you drawn to? Oh my God, these just don't even look.
I know. This is Ella Mountbatten. This is a new variety for me this year. It's a bicolor. Isn't that amazing?
I even like the early flowers that are kind of lime green.
Yeah, they're really beautiful. Pretty.
So she's more available. Seeds of this are more available in the UK, but not so available in the US.
I think a handful more growers are definitely growing her now. Sweet peas certainly follow trends, like all the other flowers do. And so this is definitely a trend that's hitting right now.
The bicolor.
And this particular bicolor is
It looks
trendy.
like someone got their watercolor set out.
That's right.
Did a wash.
And hit 2. That's right. Yeah. This one, Millie, is a popular one. We've already set most of the seed on this, so you can get. But these bright fuchsias have been super popular this year.
They're so saturated.
Really, and this one's kind of on its. Well, I mean, it's setting seed, so they're tired. They've had a long season.
You want them to set seed.
I do. I want
Yeah.
them. You guys are doing great.
So your features, like what do you desire? I think I know, but I'd love to
Sure.
have you. And I just want to show
I
people
like
Ella.
Something, very simply, something beautiful. I'm not selecting seed for any particular, like, I'm not selecting for stem length. I'm not selecting for, seasonality right now.
Okay.
In these first 2 years, I am simply selecting flowers that I think are beautiful and that I think people, like my customers, will think are beautiful. I think I'm definitely growing these seeds for the gardener and not necessarily for the flower farmer. And so I'm thinking about someone's cottage garden that they're putting together at their house. And that doesn't mean I'm excluding any flower farmers, because I have plenty of the popular varieties that flower farmers are looking for. The whites for weddings and the deep, deep maroons for weddings. Those are good ones. And there are a few like unicorn varieties that are, shell pink and Juliet and King's Ransom. These are the ones that the internet goes nuts for. So I have all of those, but simply I am growing for the most beautiful flower. And that's it.
And is fragrance kind of baked in anyway, so you don't have to choose for that?
I think so. Of the ones that I am growing, there's a range of most fragrant to, there's a few that have no fragrance at all. I'm really not yet.
Yeah.
That may develop as the business continues, but right now, fragrance isn't a part of, what I'm looking for is a robust plant. I want to know that they're not going to have to baby a plant. If they put it in the ground, it will grow following simple instructions, and that they won't have to necessarily fuss over something.
You also mentioned something earlier at the very first row about almost like the prolific production. So some will crank out more stems or blooms than others.
That's right.
And that's one of your features.
Absolutely, yeah. I love the idea of abundance when it comes to the sort of the visual impact of sweet peas. There's something really amazing when you walk into a row of sweet peas, as we did in the tunnel of sweet peas, and you're surrounded by them. And so I will probably weed out the varieties. I won't necessarily sell the varieties that are harder to encourage to grow, that look a little wimpier, that don't, because that's not, I don't know, I want something to be full, and
that's the vibe you want.
Right. Yeah.
When you mention the English cottage garden, I think this is what comes to mind.
Right, yeah.
So you've painted a picture for us.
Well, let's just take a quick look at some of the blues. There is one variety over here. It's not blue. It's called Spanish Dancer. It's a little tiny bicolor, multiple color, and it's the earliest to flower, and it's turning out to be the earliest to set
Oh my
an enormous
goodness.
amount of seed. And I'm only growing a test patch of it this year.
Because you were evaluating it. Wow, look at, they're all ready to be harvested.
They're really doing well, but let's see if we can get, here's a good example of this. Isn't that the most amazing thing?
Wow.
Thistle down here.
So pretty.
Isn't that great?
That's
Just
very
like,
watercolor-like too.
Yeah.
These aren't considered like a single or double form. That's just the form, right?
This is a kind of, I think this is a grandiflora or an old fashioned. I'd have to look at the thing. But so you've got your Spencer varieties. All sweet peas derived from one plant, and then they got hybridized. And then all Spencer varieties got hybridized from one Spencer plant in England on the Spencer property of Diana, Princess of Wales, Spencer.
Those Spencers.
At Althorpe, yes, those Spencers. So any of the really blousy, frilly ones, those are likely a Spencer. You have to look at the Horticultural Society classifications. But then you have grandifloras and modern grandifloras and old fashions, and they are all just a little bit, like their characteristics are a little bit different. So this one is very likely an old fashioned. I need to look it up, but
that's
it's a gentler.
It's petite.
It's petite.
Yeah.
It's a little delicate. The plant, the flowers are delicate. The stem length is a little shorter. It's definitely a garden plant and not necessarily a flower design plant. However, if somebody were to cut, this at this length and use this as some beautiful draping vining bit out of a bouquet or over your, you can use things creatively. It doesn't have to be just the stem.
Sure.
It can be part
You're
of the
adding the
vine.
vine, and you're thinking about the design element as well as the garden element.
Yeah, I think.
Yeah, I love it.
I don't think you can stop.
No, you
Right.
can't. You've been a farmer-florist for too long.
For a while, for a minute. So just like, let's look at a couple of the test blues. This one is, this one is called Scylla. I think you'll love this one.
Oh,
because
it's
it
so blue.
starts this kind of chartreuse color. Isn't that the most amazing thing?
Wow.
And then as
What
it
a
ages,
variation.
right? It gets a little bluer, and then it gets properly blue like this.
It's
and
almost
then
like
it'll
a
set-
chambray color.
I love this. This is
Oh.
exactly the form I want to
Yep.
see on this one. So
Yep.
you can see all the various colors.
Yes, you can,
Isn't
because
that pretty?
there's multiple pods that or buds that open on
Right.
every stem, and you're
Right.
getting that kind of gradation.
That's right.
It's gorgeous. So
Isn't that-
Scylla will make it into
Scylla, yeah.
the selection
she's
for
a
next
keeper.
year.
She's a keeper.
How do you keep them from cross-pollinating?
They don't. They self-pollinate. So, sweet peas are, for the most part, unless you get a really active bee or tiny plant that can get in when they're closed, by the time it gets to this point, it's already been pollinated.
Okay.
It's pollinating in this phase right here.
Okay.
And they pollinate their own little selves. And hybridizers, which I am not, basically will take a plant that will be, they'll take this and they'll open this back up until it reveals the stamens and the other pistils and all the little parts in there. And they'll take the crossbreed that they want to, and they will hand mix up all that pollen, and they will close that back up, and then they will just let and see. And at that point, it's just, you don't know, you just wait. You hope and you see.
That's so interesting.
And then it takes something like 7 years to set that seed.
So you're not running the risk of
wind.
or insect pollination that will mess up a true
No,
cultivar.
not really.
That's awesome.
The only thing that will happen, and this is happening certainly in one of my varieties, which is called Southbourne, and it's a pink, it's like a baby pink variety, is that after a number of years from its initial, like the seed setting, the variety kind of setting, the plant can, like the seeds can begin to sort of revert to their parent plants. And at that point, you have to do a strong rogue, which I did last week. I pulled out 2/3 of the plants of this that started to go white, which was one of the parent plants. Pulled that out. Will only be growing on the ones that are showing the characteristics that I want, and then hopefully stabilizing that again. I will also, just as a bit of insurance, order more Southbourne from the breeder and bring that in to make sure that I have a true variety.
That's really really thorough, and I also think it's part of you're out here multiple times a day observing intimately every variety, so you're catching it at the right time.
And I'm at, like,
it's not plug and play.
No, exactly. You have to pay attention. I think one should pay attention. And then I'm surrounded by so many resources that I can fire up on my cell phone and say, Tuesday, are you finding that your Southbourne is going? And she says, no, but my Melanie Ann did that. So, there's a lot of like just
dialogue.
Yeah, I think so. Conversation and just support for each other, which is delightful and rare in this world.
Is there a group of sweet pea seed producers?
Not formally.
Okay, just kind of
it's a WhatsApp group.
Yeah.
Like it's not.
And it's WhatsApp because it's international.
Yeah.
That's wonderful.
Right.
I love it.
Yeah.
Okay, well, we'll sit down and talk about Diadem and Songbird Seed Company, and also how people can get their hands on your seeds.
Sounds good.
Okay, thanks so much.
Yeah.
Colleen, thank you so much for the tour of the sweet pea seed production fields. I'm kind of have a heady sense of peace, just even though it's warm out.
Yeah.
The fragrance does this fragrance spike when it's really warm?
It does. And you definitely. It's like when you're wearing a perfume.
Yeah.
It definitely blooms more when it's warmer out.
Sure.
You certainly can't smell it as much. It has something to do with the way the particles in the air are moving in heat. But
you
we'll
also said at dusk it's actually very fragrant.
Yeah.
So, all right.
It is.
So, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you.
Long in coming.
Long time listener.
And you're a longtime member of Slow Flowers, and I didn't put your family name together with some of my history, but I remember the day you came up to me and introduced yourself at the Seattle Wholesale Growers Market, and you said, you might know my siblings, you went to Seattle Pacific with them, but you're way younger than us, so you weren't at Seattle Pacific when I was. Okay.
No, so I am one of 10, and my oldest 2 brothers attended Seattle Pacific, and then another brother later, but you attended, with my oldest brothers, and I'm the 9th of 10.
Okay.
So there's a bit of space in between us. But in Seattle, and especially on Queen Anne, Raneys are Raneys. And so I grew up my whole life with people saying like, are you Mark's sister? Are you Bruce's little sister? Are you related to Aaron? Julie's got to be your sister, right? So
You couldn't dodge it, right?
no, and it's turned out to be really wonderful. There are times, I think, in my 20s, which is why I maybe moved away to just get a little space. But it really is a gift to be a part of the family that I am a part of.
So, big Irish family.
Yep.
You grew up in Seattle.
Yep.
Did you go to Seattle Pacific?
No, I went to the University of Washington.
Okay. What did you major in?
Yeah, I went to school on an aerospace engineering scholarship.
Okay, that's your left brain.
Right, and then right in the middle of that, I was on an ROTC scholarship with the Air Force, and they decided that I was too susceptible to sunburn, believe it or not, and so they rescinded my.
Oh my goodness!
They rescinded my scholarship.
You poor thing. I feel like that's freckle discrimination.
I
or
know.
something.
There's got to be something, right? They only make sunscreen. There's got to be white people in the military, but
fair-skinned people.
That's right.
That's crazy.
They. So I at that point kind of fell back to my first love, which was theater, and I ended up with a bachelor's of arts in drama, and then I went immediately into the professional actor training program, which is an MFA program at the University of Washington.
Oh wow!
At the time, it was 4th in the nation, so we did strong, like live theater training versus camera training, and so.
But you're pretty good on camera.
Well, we'll see. So I'm not. It's not without its stress. You're so comfortable on a camera.
Well, we'll get back to that. I want to talk about Diadem.
Yeah.
And first of all, you said that the name was hard for people to pronounce. What is it? What is that? What does that mean?
So a diadem is a crown. It's a tiara.
Oh, okay.
And
it's very biblical, but I couldn't remember why.
It is. It's also my family. My grandparents are from London, and so the queen at the time, and now the king and the queen. But the royal family we have all the tea, the china, and all the things in the house, and so the word diadem was just sort of part of, like, I could point to the various diadems that are part of the crown jewels, just as like a matter of. I mean, we weren't
a daughter of the United Kingdom.
We're not necessarily aristocracy, but it was like a hobby of my mother's and my grandmother's, and so the word diadem made sense to me as I was looking to find a name for the business that I had formed when we were still living in Maine, and I wanted it to be related to flowers, but not so on the nose. I didn't necessarily want it to be. There's enough blooms, there's enough blossoms, there's enough farms and farmhouses.
Yes,
and
there are.
That's great. That's wonderful. That serves them. I wanted something that implied something a little elevated. And every flower has a crown, and a diadem is a crown. And so that's sort of how I put that together. Possibly overthought it. Didn't really understand that most people would pronounce it diadem. Also fine. I don't care.
Okay.
They can say it any way they want, but it is technically pronounced diadem.
I evaluate and come across floral names every single day of my life, either a flower shop or a studio or a farm. And I think one-word names have so much power. No one else has it, and you've put your toe in the ground and said, this is mine.
Right.
I love it.
Right. And I didn't want it to be Flower Farm because I wasn't sure if that's what we were doing. We were still living in Portland, Maine at the time, and I was on a lawn and I was growing a little bit of flowers, so I went with Diadem Flower Company instead of Floral Farm or Flower Farm or something like that. I wasn't sure.
So it has changed. You've done it all.
Yes.
Which I guess is a way that many people dive into their floral entrepreneurship, in that they have one idea, but they soon realize you've got to be like a Swiss Army knife and do everything.
Yeah.
So what are some of the highlights, and what are you focusing on now?
Sure. Yeah. So we started in that house in Maine, in Portland, Maine, and then very quickly I wanted to have a little bit more space to grow. So we moved to a farm that was on 10 acres there. And I didn't grow all 10 acres. I had maybe an acre in production, and that's when I was doing it all. I was growing all the dahlias and all of the zinnias and all the celosia and all of the sweet peas, all of it, and just started to find my way into weddings. I was doing a CSA, the bouquet, the farm stand, the whole thing, the way that you've seen so many of my colleagues go through this progression, and it's great, and it was valuable. I learned at every single point along the way. When it was time for us to move back to the Northwest, where both my husband and I were born and raised, I knew that I had to make some decisions because I am surrounded by people who grow the most amazing flowers. I don't have to grow everything in the same way that I needed to support my business in Maine. That was a different environment there.
There were fewer farmer-florists.
There are more. There are plenty of farmer-florists, but there is no collective Seattle wholesale growers market.
Right.
They're working on a collective now. It's growing, and just as we were leaving, it was going to turn into something pretty fantastic. But here, I have access to the most incredible product that I don't have to. Why would I grow everything when I can just do the thing that I do well, which is up for debate, but I have been told that I am a decent designer, so why not just design and spend my time growing the things that I am in love with, and that is the sweet peas. So Diadem Flower Company is a wedding florals company. Sometimes I pull things from my garden. 99.9% of the time, you will find me at the growers market on Wednesday.
Which is why
we bump into each other, right?
You also, I think, I say this time and again, designers who have been growers or cross-pollinate with growers have such a different point of view about knowing what's seasonal, what's going to hold up well, out of water, all these things that you bring to that wedding business.
Yeah, I really, every single time I fell on my face about something has prepared me to make sure one of my couples does not. So the time that I, throw a scabiosa into not enough water or into some sort of source that isn't the right thing, because I've grown them, I know how they behave out there. I know not to use them in certain things, and then where better to use them so that they can really shine. Right. And I do think that flowers grown and designed in a season are just inherently more beautiful. So to use autumn flowers in autumn, to use spring flowers in spring, they belong where they are, and so it's one of the reasons why I'm actually almost entirely committed to this season only using local products. So if somebody's asking me for something out of season, it's not the right fit for me. Right. I can recommend a florist that might work with you better. I know where my values are, and I know that there's, that's where my preferences lie.
So how do you balance the wedding business, the design consultations, the execution and production of small and large events with Songbird Seed Company?
Yeah, not well.
You're one of those women like, okay, she's capable, so we're going to ask her to do one more thing.
That's it. I think, and I know so many women like that, yourself being one of them, where you just know you have broad shoulders. Yeah. And you just do it. You just do it, and it's uncomfortable for the times where you've overbooked yourself, but it's also so valuable. Even like today, this morning, I started with a consultation at 8 o'clock this morning. I have 2 events this weekend. I have seed harvest happening all the time. We're doing this, which is a delight in my week.
We did have it on the calendar.
We did.
Because you told me I had to wait
until August so you could see the flowers. That's right. Because why would you come to a sweet pea farm in February?
Yeah.
No.
But the reason I was getting at that is it a little bit complementary, cyclical, that you can do some of the sweet pea marketing in the winter or planning or whatever? Okay.
Right. A lot of and especially the seed starting and the getting everything in the ground. This that stuff, the stringing all of the trellis up, the getting the posts and all the infrastructure stuff happens before wedding season really kicks off for me, because I stick to a local clientele and a local product. So by the time I'm running these weddings this time of year, so from basically I start weddings in July. June, I don't have a lot of them then. So July, August, September, October are my busy weddings. By then, these guys are in the ground already. They've come up, they've been weeded, they've been tied up. In the morning, I'll go out and harvest before it gets too warm for a fair-haired person. And then I will get to the business of the weddings, and then rinse, repeat through the winter or through October. Most of the seeds are done being harvested by September, which is why I give myself a minute, and then the seed sale is in October every year. Okay. We may split it this year between October and then January, just to give me a little bit of extra space, but we'll see.
I feel like they're really complementary, and I've seen so many good examples of people. Well, obviously, we know lots of people in the flower farming world who are doing dahlia tuber sales and all, and becoming nurseries. That's another category that I'm really interested in following, where they're selling to gardeners. Your sweet pea business is also, as you mentioned, inspired by or targeted to home gardeners.
Yes.
That's wonderful.
Right.
Yeah. I saw the envelopes over here.
Yeah.
Can you show them?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, you do it.
Yeah. So these are, the second cat, by the way, is behind you, and he's messing with so if anybody can see, I have one cat right here sleeping, and the other is being an absolute pain behind Deborah.
Okay, when I interviewed Francoise Weeks in her studio, we were in her studio, and unbeknownst to us, outside the window was a bird feeder that a squirrel was on, swinging back and forth, trying to get the bird seed the entire time.
This is hilarious. I only listen. I need to start watching more.
We just were like, oh my God, we were oblivious.
You can't control any of that.
It's good. It's good
entertainment.
Visual entertainment. Yeah,
that's right. So one of the various jobs that I've had to do as a person who is a self-employed musician and actor in theater is that we are responsible basically for all of our own poster design, all of our own website design, all of our own, like marketing, all of it. And so graphic design is a thing that I do for myself and for other clients.
And you taught yourself?
I did, yeah.
Wow.
I did. And
this
so
is beautiful.
I designed this, and I
wanted
wanted
it's a sweet pea with a little songbird on it.
Well, that's just a leaf, but it does look like a songbird.
Oh yeah, it is a leaf.
I should have done that.
Well, next season.
Next season.
You're right. I was looking at it from an angle. Okay.
Yeah. So this is
stunning.
Right. And last year, I was able to do sort of like a mock-up version of it. I used a stock pink, and I had a sticker made, and I put it on there. But then I figured this year we're going to get serious about things.
Serious? So
I
found someone to print metallic.
I had these made, yeah. And they were shipped from Korea.
They're very Diadem-like to have that shiny gold.
Aren't they? Yeah.
And these look small, but they're very sturdy. So they're keepers.
Yeah.
How many seeds would you put in here?
10.
Okay.
10 seeds going.
Is that kind of the acceptable quantity these days?
It is. It's usually 10 or 50. Oh. And if you're growing 50, it's usually you're flower farming.
You're buying in bulk.
Right, because basically who has room for 50 sweet peas? One of those rows is 50 sweet peas.
What?
Yeah, that's what I plant out there right now.
Oh my gosh.
One of those
they
like
do
that
take
big,
up a lot of space.
They do and I grow them.
Sorry, we made a big mess here.
Throwing things everywhere. When I grow the sweet peas, I want it to branch, so it grows into 4 different vines, and then it takes up. So each
and you're training them to do that.
Yeah, to go up and out.
Okay.
So that they take up this much space per one seed, and so if I have, 100-foot row, then I've got one per, or every other 50. I think that's a 50-foot row, so I have basically one every 12 inches out there.
So, okay, so 50 seeds for 50 feet.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it makes me think about in my own little sweet pea paradise. I will post a photo of my sweet pea installation in our show notes. It is literally one tutor that is, I don't know, the base is about 18 inches square, and it just goes up.
Yeah.
Designed by my friend Jennifer Asher of Terra Trellis in LA, USA made. And all the sweet peas climb up it and all compete for space, but this year it's a kaleidoscope.
Oh, nice.
Because I was like you're describing, I'm thinking, well, one packet of seeds isn't enough. Even a mix isn't enough.
Right.
And then I bought some at the sale at the Seattle Wholesale Growers Market that we did. So basically, they're crowding in for real estate just in that square.
Yeah.
So I can see what you're talking about.
Right.
They need a little room to stretch out.
They can, and there are lots of ways you can cordon them up and make them into one. Like you can cut all the side ones and train them up, which is how you get those that's how they do it in Japan. They get very long, like harvestable stems. But for a garden, you kind of want it to be a little tumble down. You want it to be whimsical and overstuffed. Blousy, I love that word. And so for my own garden, I plant them 6 inches apart because I want them to be tight.
Yeah.
Out here, I want them to stretch so that they set more seed.
Right. So, okay, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
I'm in love with them, and that you found someone in Korea who printed, because it is kind of a specialized.
Yeah.
Did you design the seed, the envelope size?
It did, yeah. Well, yeah, and we had to use a separate. This is a thicker paper than I wanted, but I'm not mad about it. Like, it's cardstock. I keep thinking, like, how can I tell somebody to use this again? Like, what's a way to reuse? I hate single use anything.
You should have a contest for like creative crafting.
That's a good idea.
Because
we're having a contest, everybody.
I could see just cutting the front and punching a hole and putting a ribbon on, and then having this be a gift card, or well, I know there's adhesive, so maybe you'd even
just
put
take
the hole there.
off. Yeah.
And gift, a
Like
note
tied around
to a friend.
a bunch of stems as you give it to.
Yes.
I love this.
I think you're going to have some fun ideas.
I hope so. I'll put it on Instagram when the
it's a keeper. Yes.
I'm pretty happy with it. So,
Okay, so we've hinted at the fact that you have this incredible performing arts background.
Yeah.
And I would love to hear that story because I think that a lot of people who are proficient in other media or genre of art find their way to flowers. And I think that I'd like to share that with our viewers and listeners.
Sure, yeah. I agree with you. I think that that if you have art in you, and I think most people do, if you have art in you, it will manifest itself in one way or another, and sometimes it will just keep manifesting itself if you follow whatever, people call it the muse or whatever, but if you just follow whatever your gut is kind of leading you towards. So I came from this big Irish family. I grew up an Irish step dancer. Inside said family, we had a band. My brother, Mark, that you know, had a band called Rappery, and I was one of their little step dancers until I got old enough to sing for them.
Like the Irish version of the Jackson 5.
I'm the Von Trapps. But I like the Jackson 5. We've never been called the Jackson 5.
You could be like Janet.
Could I please?
Yes.
You've just made my whole week.
Yes,
this
the
is
youngest.
Amazing.
And the Von Trapps for sure.
Right?
Yes.
So, who are also in flowers.
Yes.
So, once I got old enough, I started singing for them. And this was just a thing that we did in the family. It wasn't the job. My brother's a doctor. It's not...
Were you singing Irish folk songs?
Yeah.
Okay, so traditional songs.
Yeah, exactly. And then I went to, college and I got my degree in theater, and then I went on and became a professional actor, and I moved to New York and I worked in theater. And then I worked regionally and toured, came back to Seattle and worked in theater. And then I came back and my youngest sister was getting married. And we... out in Ocean Shores, Washington, which is on the coast, and she was having her rehearsal dinner at this pub that my family had played regularly.
Oh, neat.
And we arrived, and my husband, who I had met at a sister's wedding 12 years earlier, or even more, maybe 15 years earlier.
He knew what he was getting into with the family.
He had played my other sister's wedding.
Oh, I love it.
And then he happened to be playing in the pub where we had this rehearsal dinner. So I bumped into him there, and we started talking at that point. I was home from New York, kind of done with the New York theater world and ready to kind of make a transition into Irish music more professionally. So I asked him at that point if he would produce my first record. And he did.
Oh, you guys weren't dating or anything.
No,
he was
he just was playing there.
A music friend.
We just happened to run into, we did it. We weren't even friends. We just knew each other from having been in kind of circles. We maybe had 2 conversations in our whole life.
Wow.
And we just bumped into each other that night. Spent the entire night talking. My sister Julie was concerned because she couldn't find me, and we were just completely focused,
in sync.
And we'd already decided at that point that we were recording an album. We just went from 0 to 140.
I love it.
And then from that
and you can
point
say his name.
on, his name's Hanz Araki. He's a Juno Award-winning Irish musician.
Oh my gosh.
There hasn't been a day that we haven't talked. Maybe 12. Maybe since 12 days since 2007 that we have not talked.
Wonderful.
So we started playing music together professionally. I keep looking over there because
he's in the other room.
that room. So everybody, he's over there.
I was doing the same thing.
Exactly. We're referring to this ghost no, he's in there.
He's off camera.
He's fine. He's working on some music. He's going to the studio next week. So so we started working together live as well as then studio recordings. And then, I was a professional Irish touring musician from 2008 until, technically I still am, but I haven't played a show for 2 years, which I'm sort of giving myself a break right now.
Yeah.
I needed a break.
Yeah.
Which is how I ended up in flowers.
Right.
And so I needed, I kept going with a bunch of different projects. Irish musicians are known for we just swap. It's like musical chairs. We just swap bands a lot. We move around and
it's super versatile. It's a community. In a way, it's a lot like flowers in that there's a community.
That's right. Yeah.
Why did you go to Portland, Maine?
We went to Portland, Maine for music. We'd been living in Portland, Oregon for 10 years. And then my career was getting to the point where I needed to make a change. I needed to make a move because I was hitting kind of a ceiling of what I could do on the West Coast. I have amazing colleagues and contacts on the West Coast. But there is a bit more opportunity on the East Coast, and then you have easier access to actual Ireland.
To go to Europe and all.
Yeah, back and forth. And so he was in the same position. We had a bunch of colleagues and friends in Portland, Maine he was asked to come and play with. So we thought, why not? Portland, Maine is so much like Seattle was when both of us were kids.
Yeah.
So it has that working waterfront, and it's very industrial. It's a very seasonal town in the way that Seattle used to be a seasonal town. So off we went, played music, both of us, big leaps in our careers. And then at some point around 2017, I went on this fantastic tour with basically my favorite band in the world called me to cover for a few months of their tour, which was unbelievable. It was the best experience of my life. At the end of that tour, I was getting to the point where I needed a break. I had turned 42 on that tour. I was tired. I was starting to experience the things that all of us start to experience around 42. And I just knew that if I didn't take care of myself, then I wasn't going to be much left of me. So at that point, I had never grown anything before. So I built 4 raised garden beds. I filled them with compost, and I put in 140 tomatoes. And it was a disaster, but it was fun. Yes. It was so fun. And I found myself listening to all of the podcasts, including yours and including the one from Seattle Urban Farm Co. And I learned while in Maine how to grow things from podcasts and from library books. I didn't take any classes. We didn't have the money for it. I was a musician.
Did your family have gardens?
My dad loves to grow roses, but no, my dad is an industrial chemist, and then he taught soccer and taught high school and coached soccer, and very busy humans. And so there was a yard and a garden at home, right? But it wasn't anything that anybody was doing.
So you surprised people with this passion.
Did it exactly, and that's how basically. At that point, I realized, you know what, I still had an album that I needed to make, so I finished up my 5th album there, and then formed a combination of musicians with Hanz and 2 of our best friends in Portland, Maine, called Josephine County, and we toured for a while. But at that point, I really was starting to make the real transition to just fully flowers, and as a result of that, you have graphic design experience, you have web design experience, and you just, again, if you have the art in you and the initiative in you, all of it is available to you.
Well, you have the event planning and production and marketing, all the things that musicians, nobody has people unless they're off the charts,
that's right,
level. And
that's right.
I think that in the writing career, it's very much, I call myself Deborah Prinzing, one woman PR department. And I think that you're in the same category. But it's nice to do it yourself, because then you're controlling your brand.
Yes. Yeah.
So you moved back to Seattle, specifically Skagit Valley, right before COVID? I can't remember.
Right after COVID.
Oh, right after COVID.
Yeah, we moved home in 2022.
Okay.
My parents are still living in the home that my grandparents built on Queen Anne, and it was the family has been sort of coalescing around them while we have them.
And Queen Anne is a neighborhood in Seattle.
Right.
Overlooking the Space Needle. If anyone wants a point of reference, it's really close to downtown.
It's where Meredith Grey lived in Grey's Anatomy. It's right down the street from my grade school. If anybody wants to know, I'll show you where her house is.
I love it.
So, they still live in that neighborhood in Queen Anne, and my family, for the most part, there's one brother who lives in Missouri.
Okay.
But the rest of us are in the Pacific Northwest.
Okay.
And so we're just around more with each other, and it was the right time for us to come home, both career-wise as well as family-wise. But I also still wanted to pursue this, and so we started looking for land out here. And land is hard to come by out here, and little pieces of land are hard to come by.
And this is 2 acres?
It's 2.5 acres,
wow.
And this is agriculturally protected land, so it can't be developed. So small parcels are impossible to find because you can't subdivide these parcels. Usually it's 40 acres, and that's it.
Right. So someone would have to want a little bit of acreage to buy this house.
That's right.
And want to fix up an old house.
And want to fix up a house that basically had no foundation and no septic and no electrical. And it was, I don't know what we were thinking.
I actually have derived more pleasure watching your home improvement posts than your flower posts.
I don't blame you. It was like one disaster after another, one worst case scenario. But I am like I said, lucky to be surrounded by a very strong community and a very strong family with a lot of skill sets, including contracting, and so they could guide me. They weren't able to do the work for me, but they could guide me in making some of the better decisions.
But when you move from one coast to the next with your floral business, number one, no plants came with you, maybe some seeds.
Dahlias and peonies came with me.
Really?
I dug them all up
What?
and put them in a drain.
Oh, that's brilliant.
I know.
Well,
Not a lot of them survived, but we did it.
Like how many peony roots?
I brought 150 peony roots, and then I had 300 more shipped here.
Wow.
And they're all planted out there.
Wow. So peonies are one of your crops that
They are.
you harvest and sell.
I guess that was the plan originally.
Right.
If I do in future, I don't know.
Well, I saw, I'm on your mailing list as I try to stalk all our members and sign up for the mailing list. But yesterday you sent out an alert, like if you want dahlias in August, sign up now.
That's
so
right.
you're kind of, those are kind of case by case, like in the spring, if you have peonies and you have time, you'll market them. Okay.
That's right.
That's smart.
Yeah, I just figured there are a lot of people, when we came home, all of the family friends and all of the lifetime friends and all of the music people were so supportive of our move home that they really wanted to know how do they support us. Do I have a new album? Could they buy the new album? Could I? And I said, no, but how about I do a flower delivery program? And so I started with a flower delivery program that had something like 70 members in it. And once every other week, my sisters and I would divide and conquer, and we would just drive the entire Pacific Northwest, dropping flowers everywhere we could find. But that has had to scale back.
Sure.
And so now I have just said there are still some very stalwart supporters of us and this farm. And so I have said, look, I'll do it 3 times a year. I'll bring you the best of the farm in June, in August, and in October.
So June is peonies.
June, hopefully.
And then August is
dahlias and whatever is at the growers market from other people.
Oh, I see. So you're able to, because you're doing designed bouquets.
Yes.
And then what is October?
Whatever's grown in October.
Might still be dahlias.
Probably still dahlias.
Okay.
Yeah. I think so. Yeah, so we'll just see.
Okay, so that was one big leap. The other I was going to say is, as a designer, you had to start
that was
from
tricky.
scratch. I mean, obviously you know people. You probably got some word of mouth referrals, but you had to kind of integrate yourself into this new community.
Right, and we knew that we were moving, so we bought this property in June, but we didn't actually move until November because we had so much work to do on it. And we had to finish out. I was committed to a wedding season in Maine, so in June, when we knew we were moving, I switched all of my marketing and I used my sister's address in Seattle so that I could start being found by couples who were looking in the Pacific Northwest for. And it was a little confusing. I would have to explain why you keep seeing things from Maine in my feed, and I would just say, we're relocating.
Yeah, the farm is moving.
I will be there.
Yeah. For 2023?
Okay. Yeah, and some really amazing couples took that risk on me. And I had some incredible design opportunities. People just sight unseen said, absolutely, let's do this, based on my portfolio. And
I was going to say, they were drawn to your story, your aesthetic, and you tell stories on Instagram. You're not just putting pretty photos on. There's something, a little takeaway. And anyone who does this knows it's more work. Yeah. But it weaves a tale. And as a song person, I mean, I love
storytelling.
Yep. Do you write any of your own music?
No, ma'am. Okay. I wrote one song in a fit of extra feelings at one point in 2007, and I recorded it, and that's my pleasant sufficiency of writing my own music.
Check that box.
Done. Don't need to do it again.
I love it, and I love the way then the sweet pea seed business just kind of took root when you moved here, because it sounds like you've been dabbling and trialing.
2024 was the first big season, and you're right. I had been planning and thinking and trying to figure out how to make it work, and it really is more of a psychological issue for me. Like, it's scary to put yourself out there. It's scary to put yourself into a position where you might be perceived as an authority and you might get something wrong. Yeah. But I think that that's important to do, and I think it's important to say to other people who might be thinking the same thing. Like, it's okay to do it scared. Just do it scared. And I will be wrong about things, and I'm not going to pretend I'm not wrong. Yeah. I'm going to learn from every time I'm wrong, and I welcome the constructive and gentle correction to when I am wrong. Right. I'm not here for online arguments. I'm not here for any of that. I won't do it. I will just ghost that conversation and probably delete it, because it doesn't move the ball forward. No. But So I think that's probably the biggest thing about this season here is that, I stayed pretty small and pretty under the radar.
It was under the radar until I reached out to you.
And this is, and I'm trying not to be stressed about it because, but it's not stress. It's more just excitement of saying like, okay, I'm going to just be brave and say, yeah, I am doing this thing right now. And I have most of it under control.
Yeah.
I'm going to get some stuff wrong. And I appreciate all of the grace that people give me when I do get some stuff wrong.
And you're communicating that to customers by saying, this was a fail or this was a success.
Absolutely.
Here's what I've learned, and that's how gardeners are.
I think so.
We all talk about that.
I think so. We're always talking about next season. Everybody's always talking about next season. Next season's going to be great.
It sure is.
It's going to be great.
It sure is.
Yeah.
I can't wait. So before we wrap up, your sale starts in October?
It'll be in October.
Okay.
It's a fluid date right now. So my best recommendation is to get on the mailing list. And you can do that at songbirdsseeds.com. That is where the mailing list is.
And we'll put the link in our show notes. Yeah.
And then I am running a little bit of a situation for early access.
Okay.
There's a lot of people who are very determined to get some of the varieties that will have limited stock of.
Gee, really?
I know, and I'm here for it.
I hope they don't have your address.
I can't wait. Please. I know. I put it on the internet so often.
I think it's on slowflowers.com.
They can just walk up. It's fine. No, I mean, please don't. But it's fine if you do. We've got coffee. You just come get some coffee.
Yeah.
But if you're committed to purchasing some of the seeds, if you purchase a gift card for Songbird Seed Company in the amount of $50 or more, you get early access.
Oh.
So you're not spending extra money to get access. You're just telling me I am committed.
You're paying it forward.
Exactly.
And you could give that to someone as a gift or use it for yourself.
And it's not just sweet peas that are on the website. I also have peony roots and all of the spring bulbs that are going to be that you plant in the winter. So all of those things can be, if you don't necessarily need $50 worth of sweet peas, because that's a lot of sweet peas out there in the world. But you could break that up into the other things that you want to purchase as well.
I just made me realize one of the other tools in your toolbox that you learned as a musician probably was your photography skills.
Yes.
Because I remember when you did your calendar.
I still do.
Okay, because I remember asking you if we could use a photo a couple years ago.
Yeah.
And, so you're still doing your annual calendar.
I am, yeah. I think this year it's actually, I was just looking at the calendar upstairs yesterday thinking this year it's going to be all sweet peas.
It better be.
It's going to be. 2026 is all sweet peas all year.
What a perfect thing to give to your sweet pea lover.
Yeah.
Well, and that is available at Diadem or at Songbird Seeds?
I think I'm going to have everything going through Songbird now.
Okay.
Diadem as it's slowly moving. That's just weddings, and Songbirds is everything else farm related.
Great.
Yeah.
Anything else you want to mention that I didn't ask you?
I think so. Just thank you so much for coming all the way out here.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
It was such a treat.
Yeah, likewise.
And I'll be back.
I hope so.
Okay.
I hope so.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.